Okay, on question 27, where you are using row operations to solve the system, I would recommend that you just go back to my separate video. It's listed as 6.2, or it's listed as method of reduction video. So I would go back to that for question number 27 and review that method there. On question 28, solving the system by any method, notice they give you 4 equations, but what I want to show you is if the system has a solution, you can actually pick any 2. If you have 2 variables, all you need are 2 different equations. So I just picked the top 2, and that allows me to solve it. So again, in this case, I decided I wanted to get rid of the x, so I multiplied the top equation here by -2. Okay, so it's set up so that my x's would cancel. When I add the other variables together, I'm left with -3y equal -9. And when I divided both sides by -3, I got a y value of 3. And then it doesn't matter which equation you plug it back into. I just went back to the first one, plugged in my y of 3, so x plus 12 was equal to 10. When I subtract 12 on both sides, then I'm left with x is equal to -2. So that's that solution. On 29, you're doing some scalar products and then adding matrices. So notice they asked me to multiply -3 times a. So that just means you multiply everything inside of a by -3. And that's what I got here. And then 2 times b. So everything inside of matrix b times 2. And then you just add corresponding elements. -9 plus -6 is -15. +6 plus -14 is -8. +12 plus 18 is 30. And -15 plus -16 is -31. And then on the next question, or actually next 2 questions, I'm going to refer you back to my separate video on the simplex method. I go over that entire method in a whole separate video. So I would go back to that for question 30 as well as question 31. All right, on 32, we start getting into the probability. We're being asked to write a sample space where a coin is tossed and a 6-sided die is rolled. I like to draw a tree diagram just to get a picture of what's going on. So notice if I flip the coin, I have one of 2 outcomes, either heads or tails. And then if I roll the die, it's a standard die, so I could get, if I flipped a head, I could get any one of 6 outcomes on the coin or on the die. If I flipped a tail, again, I could get any of those 6 outcomes. So when you put them together, head with 1, head with 2, head with 3, and so on, this answer shows the correct sample space. And you will be required to show work, so you probably want to just draw a tree diagram like that. Question 33, if I have a single fair 4-sided die, what I like to do is look at the sample space. So there are 4 outcomes. We're being asked to find the probability we get a number less than 2. Well, the only number less than 2 on that die would be a 1. So that is 1 number out of the 4 outcomes. On question 34, we have a single fair die is rolled. So when they don't tell you how many sides, that's your standard 6-sided die. We're being asked to find the probability of rolling a number greater than 5. Well, the only number greater than 5 is 6, so there's 1 number out of the 6 outcomes. And then finally on question 35, we're looking at a pair of dice. You could draw a tree diagram for that, but for me, the table's a little bit easier to follow, so that's what I did here. So notice that I could roll on a pair of dice, a 1 with a 1, 1 with a 2, and so on. So you've got all 36 outcomes there. The first question asked you for a sum that is not more than 8. So not more than 8 means we're saying less than or equal to 8. And the nice thing about the table is that all of your sums are diagonal. So if I draw that line right there, I'm showing you everything over here is less than or equal to 8. So you can either count those up directly, or you could count what's not in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so if there are 10 outcomes not in there, that means that out of 36, that would leave us with 26 that are in there. So 26 out of 36, and then that reduces to 13 out of 18. All right, with the next question, we're looking for a sum that is not less than 11. And so when I look at my table, here's the dividing line with my sums of 11. Not less than 11 means we're talking greater than or equal to 11, and you're only talking about those three outcomes. So 3 out of 36 would reduce to 1/12. And then finally, for the last question, they're wanting to talk about a sum that is between 6 and 11. Exclusive mean does not include. And so we've got to be bigger than a sum of 6. So there's my line that divides those, but smaller than a sum of 11. So you're talking about all of those outcomes in that green box. And if you count them up, there are 18 out of the 36, and that reduces to 1/2.